Okay, so Guild Wars 2 is a fantastic game that has been out for quite a while now, but you're only just getting into it. You've seen videos of elite specializations, build guides, and gameplays, and you are utterly lost. Well, that's where I'm hoping to help you. This is going to be an overview of all 9 classes, we call them professions in this game, and how you can find the right one for you to start. And then I will rate those professions based off of their difficulty as a new player. I will be focusing mainly on the core professions, but will make brief mention of the elite specializations. Also, as a disclaimer, each and every profession has a place in the game, so at the end of the day, make a choice for the one that you think you will enjoy the most, as the profession that you play is the lens in which you view the game. And let's make that view a really good one. First, let's talk about our beefcake patty, the warrior. About as staple as a class in any MMORPG anywhere, all warriors essentially do the same thing in every single game. They are melee combatants that are breathtakingly violent. The warrior is of the heavy armor category and has many different weapon options, mostly melee with a few range sprinkled in there. Their unique class ability or profession mechanic is their burst skills. When in combat, warriors generate adrenaline, which then is spent on these burst skills that can deal some serious damage or control enemies. Warriors have some pretty unique skills like their banners that benefit allies or weaken enemies, or even their physical skills which offer some crazy crowd control. Warriors also tend to have some very high baseline defensive stats in vitality and toughness. The warrior's 3 elite specializations are the burning berserker, the dagger wielding spellbreaker, and the gun blazing bladesworn. To unlock an elite specialization, you must reach max level and then gather all the required hero points to unlock it fully. The warrior overall is an easy pick up and learn, with some complexity as you reach endgame and start unpacking their elite specializations. Pick this profession if you are a rage machine that is incredibly violent. Anyway, moving on to the Guardian. This is another heavy armor class that focuses on supportive and defensive magics. I mean, with a name like the Guardian, it kinda makes sense. Guardians are melee oriented but have a few range weapon options. The strong suit of the Guardian is how they play into group compositions, as they have a plethora of positive group effects and healings, and they are always a solid choice. Having said that, they have some heavy offensive options as well, through the greatsword or their burning passive effect from their virtues. Their virtues are their unique class mechanic, and these virtues are justice, courage, and resolve. Justice offers passive and active burning. Resolve offers passive regeneration as well as an active healing and cleansing. Courage passively grants Aegis, which is a boon that blocks the next incoming attack. This is both passively generated as well as can be activated on demand. The Guardian's elite specializations are the longbow-wielding Dragon Hunter, the Burning God Firebrand, and the sword-swinging assassin in the Willbender. Overall, the Guardian is an easier class to play as it is well-rounded and is fairly forgiving for new players. Pick up the Guardian if you are interested in a great support class that has plenty of offensive options. The last heavy armor class is the Revenant. As a caveat, you must purchase an expansion to gain access to this profession. The Revenant is an incredibly unique class as it literally summons historic figures from Tyria's past to harness their powers. They have access to mostly melee weapons, except the hammer, which is unironically a ranged weapon. Aside from that, their profession mechanic is their legendary stances. Every time a Revenant changes stances and channels a legend, they always get the same set of skills tied to that particular legend. At any given time, they can have 2 of these legends equipped and ready to summon, and each of the legends can do something very well, like the dwarf stance being very defensive while the assassin stance is incredibly offensive. The Revenant also utilizes energy that is depleted using skills or degenerates over time while maintaining an ability. Energy management is critical for success with this class. The Revenant's elite specializations are the Dragon Knight Herald, the Citadel Bowman Renegade, and the Impact Meteor Vindicator. The Revenant is a bit difficult to pick up and learn as mismanaging energy and legend swapping can be challenging. Pick this profession if you want something that's really edgy and pretty well rounded. How long have you been playing Guild Wars 2? Tell me in the comment section down below. Moving on to the medium armor tier. First we have the Ranger. The Ranger is your somewhat typical archer bowman with an animal companion, and that's about where all the typicalness of this profession stops. The Ranger communes with the wild and nature itself, and as such is incredibly strong as a solo profession. They utilize a wider variety of pet commands and even traps to eliminate foes. The Ranger's staple weapon is the longbow, because they are one of the few professions that actually can utilize it. But they also have a great mix of melee and ranged weaponry. The unique mechanic of the Ranger is, of course, their animal companion. Not only does the pet take aggro off of the Ranger, they can also dish out some incredible damage if built right. Each of the pets can be commanded directly, as well as bringing a unique skill that is tied to the type of pet that you actually have equipped. The Ranger's elite specs are the Nature Commune Druid, the Pet Melding Soul Beast, and the Fist of the Wild Untamed. Given their pet and fairly high health pool, the Ranger is a great pick for new players, as the class overall is incredibly forgiving. Pick this profession if you want a strong solo class that you can bring your animal with you. Now, the Thief, another medium armor profession that, you guessed it, is as close to an assassin, rogue, or ninja as you can get in Guild Wars 2. The Thief is an absolute god at misdirection, stealth, and overall outplay capabilities. The Thief has a balanced weapon kit, access to pistols, daggers, and swords, and even a short bow. The profession mechanic is Steal, which takes an item from the target and grants the Thief a new ability for a short period of time. On top of that, thieves gain access to stealth attacks that deal incredibly high damage and are only available, as you guessed it, when stealth. When the Thief combines two weapons, their third weapon slot becomes a dual attack, which gives them a unique attack based off of whatever combo they chose. The Thief also has a unique resource called Initiative, which powers all of their weapon attacks. This means that their weapon skills have no cooldown but are limited to the amount of initiative to attack. This regenerates over time and can be replenished either by skills or trait line choices. The Thief's elite specializations are the Staff Smashing Daredevil, the Sniper Deadeye, or the Shadow Master Spectre. The Thief is moderately difficult to pick up and play as they have very little defenses outside of their stealth or evasiveness, but once understood, they're very straightforward. Play this profession if you like stealth, sneakiness, and living your Assassin's Creed fantasy. Last of the medium tier is the Engineer, another incredibly unique class. This profession combines bombs, explosions, mechanical feats, and alchemic intelligence to overcome enemies. This profession has access to the least amount of weapons in the rifle, pistol, or the shield, but it makes up for it by having access to weapon kits, which allow them a brand new set of weapon skills that they can utilize on the fly. The profession mechanic for the Engineer is their tool belt. This offers 5 new skills above their base weapon bar that change depending on the utility skill choices that they make. Engineers have all sorts of unique skills, some that allow you to become super small and invulnerable, and others allowing you to summon turrets or even equip a flamethrower. Incredibly unique and incredibly on par for the Engineer fantasy. The Engineer's elite specialization are the Gyro Spinning Scrapper, the Sun Channeling Hollowsmith, or Mr. Roboto Smashing Mechanist. Because of the amount of skill choices paired with the weapon kits and knowing when to use them, this profession could be pretty difficult to understand and play. It makes sense after a while, but starting out it's going to be overwhelming for newer players. Play this profession if you like being a literal genius that uses explosions to fix their problems. I do believe it is time for you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It is time. Now let's finish out with our light armor users. First we have the Necromancer, the channeler of death and decay across Tyria. The Necromancer is fantastic at overwhelming enemies with conditions, fear, and minions. Actually, the minions are incredibly cool as they attack and deal damage, but also have their own unique skills that they can use after they've been summoned. The Necromancer has a variety of weapons to choose from that can fit a number of different build choices, such as power strike damage, or maybe even a condition damage skill set. The profession mechanic is their life force bar and death shroud. As the Necromancer is in combat and utilizing their abilities, they generate life force, which appears above their weapon bar as a secondary health pool. When they need to, Necromancers can activate Death Shroud, which empowers the Necromancer with a new set of damaging skills and abilities that can inflict fear, conditions, and some really strong strike damage. The Shroud also acts as a defensive tool, as taking damage while in the Shroud depletes life force health pool, not your main health pool. The Necromancer's elite specializations are the Greatsword Slicing Reaper, the Sandwraith Scourge, or the Corrupting Harbinger. I highly recommend the Necromancer to new players as it is incredibly forgiving for mistakes while still also being pretty damn powerful. Also, the help of minions to tank enemies is a massive benefit. Pick this profession if you like death destruction and minions kind of pique your interest. Another medium armor class is the Mesmer, and in my opinion there is no other class like this across any other MMORPG that I have ever seen. It utilizes clones, phantasms, and confusion to decimate foes and trick enemies. The Mesmer's weapons have both melee and ranged options that include some type of phantasm in each that can be summoned. These phantasms and clones play into the profession mechanic, the shatter skills. These skills have increasingly stronger effects depending on the amount of clones that are shattered. This can be realized as either direct damage, applying confusion, dazing enemies, or even granting temporary invulnerability. Many of the skills assist the Mesmer to be slippery and evasive, as they typically don't do well in upfront continuous combat, hence the clones and phantasm for taking the enemy's attention. The Mesmer's elite specializations are the Time-Splitting Chronomancer, Shadow Dancing Mirage, or the Dagger-Throwing Virtuoso. The clone management as well as the lower defenses of the Mesmer make it moderately difficult to pick up and play. But once you learn how to survive, you can pretty well thrive with this class. Pick this profession if you want an incredibly unique class that has an affinity for confusing enemies. My personal favorite and my go-to light armor class, the Elementalist, rounds out our core professions. The Elementalist utilizes the forces of fire, air, earth, and water to overwhelm, crush, burn, and blast enemies. The Elementalist has access to a few weapons that vary in range types, like the daggers for up close and personal, the scepter for medium range, and the staff for long range. Their unique mechanic for the Elementalist is their elements. Elementalists cannot swap weapons in combat. Instead, their weapon set has access to 4 variations depending on the element that they switch to. The Elementalist changes attunements to suit the need of that given moment in combat. Whereas fire is damage oriented, water is healing and cleansing, air is damage and crowd control, and earth is defensive and bleeding. Knowing which of the attunements to be in at any given time will be the hardest thing to learn for this class. The Elementalist's elite specializations are the Warhorn Blasting Tempest, the Element Fusing Weaver, or the Hammer Bashing Catalyst, my personal favorite. Overall, the Elementalist is a tough one to pick up and play, as they have low health and toughness and need to bounce between the 4 elements to be effective. It can be incredibly punishing. Choose the Elementalist if you want an amazingly fun and complex class to master. There you go. All 9 core professions and a bit more information about them to make a better choice for you. If you want to see an even more in-depth telling of each of these classes, click this video here to see all 9 core profession spotlights. Stay caffeinated, folks.